Hello, welcome back to Abby's Open House Kids, Keys, Caffeinated Convos. We are back from Mexico. We were at Huatulco. Gerald and I got away, just the two of us. We are not group holiday people, we are just couples holiday people. As we discussed, romantic holiday people. I don't know if romance was on the docket, but it was a great week away, a week of sun, a week of super good weather, no kids, and we actually talked about things that did not revolve around driving schedules, meals, what we were cooking for supper, work schedules, anything like that. So it was amazing. Before we get to that, I just want to say thanks so much for joining. I am Abby Hebert, and you are listening to Abby's Open House, as we talked about before. Olympics have started. As you know, I hate Olympics. I am loving the Olympics memes that are out there, though. So I feel like maybe I'm coming around. We tuned into the opening ceremonies last night just for a little while. I actually left the room shortly after. I literally asked Gerald if this was an SNL skit. The way it looked, it was the speech by the woman that's in charge, I guess, of the Olympics. I don't know. And all of these actors or volunteers were dressed up as snowflakes behind her. It looked like an SNL skit. That is what they look like. And hate me all you want, but I feel like we can do better. But don't, because I don't care and I won't watch. But the memes have been amazing. I have loved all of the ones where it's like, we need to get some random guy out there to show us, how he can do it and what times he can do these events in, because then we'll actually know how much skill they have, or like showing, us being these lazy jerks on the couch critiquing all of these sports from our snack infested living rooms, and giving everyone, a hard time on their skills that they have trained hard for. I'm just loving that aspect of it. Will I actually be watching? No. Do I love that most of our TVs, except for the one, are only connected to streaming services? Yes. But way to go. Enjoy it for all of you that do. Proud of you. Proud of Canada, however we do. We got back from our trip, and our youngest was heading off to a winter retreat. Now, he is almost 13, and he's very self-sufficient. He was going to this retreat, didn't know a single person going. He just thought it'd be cool because he loves being outside. His hair is bleach blonde. He made me bleach it. He looks like Slim Shady. And so he was going to be going to this retreat. I was having a hard time sending him there just because I didn't know anyone else going. I had actually texted my friends that work at the camp and just said, hey, are there any other grade 7 boys going? No, not any grade 7 boys at all. They're like, but there's a group of grade 8 boys from Winnipeg going, and there's a group of grade 6s kind of just scattered throughout. And I was like, okay. So I told him the lay of the land, and he's like, no, I still want to go. Okay, great. So I brought him to the bus for drop off, and I had a hard time with it. I was running late for a work appointment, so Gerald had to come join and see him off. The bus was a little bit late. So I said goodbye and I quickly took off. So I missed, the actual send off. Gerald was talking to me later about it. And I said, so how did it go? And he goes, oh, yeah. Like he said, there was a minute just when he was about to get on the bus. He kind of like looked at me in my eyes for a couple of seconds, and it was like he was making up his mind if he was actually going to do this. Then he turned around, got on the bus, and Gerald said by the time that he was pulling away, like the bus was pulling away, he was sitting in the back with all the high school kids. So I don't know why we worry so much about him. I think it's because he's the youngest, and it's a really interesting dynamic because, and he had a blast, obviously. So I think with him being the youngest, I just have a harder time. I'm not sure what it is. I find it really interesting because he's the youngest in our family, but when he goes to his dad's, he's not the youngest. He has two younger siblings, and we feel that transition on our transition day. So when he comes home, it's always a little bit of an adjustment for everyone when they come home. But when he comes home, it takes a little while for him to settle into his place in our family. And so, he acts, a little more macho and a little bit, whatever. And usually by the end of the first day, he is back into being the baby of the family. And I don't mean like he's sucking his thumb and taking a soother, but he is a little more cuddly and a little bit more, like he's the little schnurpsy brother that bugs his older ones. And he just kind of takes up his place in the family. I find it just really interesting. I mean, birth order is always very interesting, but for kids in those different family circumstances, it's got to be different, that shift and that transition. I mean, even for us, we have a hard time, Gerald and I, transitioning from just the two of us. It was just the two of us in Mexico all week. And then one of our boys we picked up on the way home from the airport. He wanted to come straight home. And then the other two came home, and they were home for, a full week at our place just to kind of like make up for that time. And now we're transitioning back to a time and a weekend where it's just Gerald and I again. So to go from a full house of schedules and that routine and feeding the masses and chaos and nagging and, all the stuff to a very quiet house with our own, schedules, our own priorities, our own hobbies. It's a transition. And I sometimes forget to give myself the grace of that, and to give myself a little bit of grace sliding into that transition period. So that's where we are. Gerald is in the shop tonight. Our floor heat stopped working in the shop while we were away. So he's been tinkering away at that to get that going again and working on his car. And I have been doing this and a whole lot of work catch up and not much else. I've been kind of laying low around the house. And when I'm home, I just look homeless, which I think you're allowed. And so last time I was coming up to record and my kids were home, one of my kids is like, "You're wearing that for your podcast?" I'm like, honestly, most people are listening anyway. Not a lot of people are doing the YouTube video watching. So I think we're fine. Second of all, you're not listening to me because I'm a fashionista. That is not my demographic. So I think we're good. And third, who cares? During the week, I was heading out to a basketball game. I was just going to wear my like travel pants, my Lululemon, whatever, studio pants. Spencer's like, "Don't you want to go change?" I was like, "Should I go change?" And it wasn't a no. So put on the jeans. It's killing me wearing pants after a week of just bathing suits and cover ups and, the occasional dress in the evening for an hour or two. First world problems, right? I've been wearing a robe around the house lately. Just like I wear my sweats. It's cold in the house. Gerald is in charge of the hydro bill. So obviously we keep it at a minus 57 in the house. And I wonder if I'm going to die of hypothermia. I never know if I'm going to wake up the next morning. So I just wear extra layers. So I've been wearing, like my sweats, a t-shirt, sometimes a sweater, and then I wear my robe. So he calls me Hugh Hefner, and that's just how I'm doing it. So you're welcome. Those of you that are watching, I am not wearing my robe right now. I actually have it as a blanket on my lap, like the Queen. The Queen always had a little blanket that she wore on her drives too. So whatever. You're welcome. Just giving you a visual. Mexico. Let's talk Mexico for a while. We went to Huatulco, stayed at Dreams. It was very good. The water was beautiful. It was warm. We actually could see the whales breaching and blowing through their air holes. I don't know. Whales are like my favorite thing in the world, one of them. So we could see that from our room, which was amazing. We're usually beach people. We converted to being pool people. The pool loungers were actually more comfy, and we just got tired of feeling sand everywhere. So we swapped to the pool. In our defense, they were infinity pools, so they overlooked the beach. So we actually could look at the ocean while we were sitting at the pool. So, and there was really good shade there. I'm a shade girl. I don't look tan. I'm the same pasty as I always am. So that was what we ended up doing. Pool games, that is something I could get behind. I killed it. I killed it at the music clips and the movie clips. I did very good on those. I would just mutter it under my breath. And then Gerald, like if no one was getting it, then he'd like be like, you yell it out, yell it out. And so I would, and I got it right, obviously. I almost won one day, but I didn't. So karaoke one night, that was really tempting, but didn't do that either. Gerald always made friends in the ocean or whatever. He'd stay in later than me, and I would just be at the lounger thinking to myself, please don't bring them back over here to make conversation. I don't want to do that. So we didn't make any new friends. It was fabulous. We had a lot of deep conversations that we wouldn't normally get to have. One night at supper, I don't know how it came up, but I think Gerald was the one. He was just like, what would it have been like if we had gone on a double date when we were married to our first spouses? And it's like, first of all, no, it would have been horrible. The idea of a double date with our ex-partners in that previous life would be so weird. No one would get along. Gerald and I would maybe be able to make small talk. We're just such different people than we were at that time, I think. I didn't know him super well then. And I know that our ex-partners, I don't know, they probably would have liked each other. We wouldn't have liked our other partners. Like, yeah, because I feel like we both chose each other because we're quite different from our first choices. Because obviously, I mean, the first selections didn't work out so well. So we had that conversation. We also talked about, I have often thought this, whether or not if we had ended up together on the first try, if we would have made it. And I really don't think we would have. I think after you go through something like that and through a divorce and you get married, I was younger when I got married, him not so much. And I feel like you change so much and you decide what you're okay with and you kind of reflect. I mean, you should reflect, I think. If you're going to give it another shot, you really should reflect on what needs to change and what needs to be different if you're going to do it again. There's a lot of things that I consistently try to do better at that I didn't do well the first time around. Things that I try to be more laid back on, things that I try to be more caring about, things I try to make an effort on. And I mean, just things that change over time as you mature as well, I think. Mature, you know. I hope. I mean, I'm mortified when I think of the wife I was in my first marriage. My boy is never great, but I know they sometimes hear stories of how I was when I was married to their dad, and they'll be like, "Oh, you know, he told us, remember when you had Valentine's Day and you ripped up his card because you were so mad that he didn't get you anything or whatever." And it's just like, that's one side of the story, and we're not going to share the full story because that's really none of your business. But thanks for making me look bad. So yeah, looking back, are there things I regret? Yeah. But I mean, at the time, you think you're married to someone you're going to be with forever and they're kind of your safe person. So you kind of take it for granted. And I feel like now, even though we're going to go the distance and we're not doing this again, you don't take each other for granted as much, if that makes sense. Anyway, why are we talking about this? Oh, yeah, we wouldn't have lasted if we were each other's first rounds. That was what we were talking about. I became an influencer while I was in Mexico. We were in the ocean. Gerald loves this story. He laughs about it all the time. He still thinks about it. He told the boys about it. It's great. Thanks. You know how it's kind of like a little bit shallow, and then all of a sudden there's this ledge, usually probably where the sharks all hide. It kind of gets deep really quickly. So getting in, it's fine. It's, I mean, an adjustment to get like, it feels cold at first and then you're grumpy and then it's a whole, I go through all the emotions. But getting out, it's like there's a trick to it, you know, where you can look graceful and get out in one piece and not fall over in the waves and then be stuck in that never ending, like, can't get up. Oh, is she going to fall? Is she going to not? Is she stuck? Are we going to need to call a lifeguard? I don't know. So I had mastered it. And so what I do, feel free to copy me. I ride the wave in kind of with my body. I just kind of like let it flow in with the wave. And then I kind of like flow. And then as soon as I like feel like I'm past that ledge, I just stand up with the momentum of the wave carrying me in. And then it's like, graceful. Just like you usually are, Abby. Just graceful. So I did that and slipped a little bit. But aside from that, my bathing suit bottoms fell off. And I could hear Gerald behind me already. Not that he would come help me. So a few people got a glimpse, and there's probably some scarred children out there somewhere. But you know what? You're welcome. So that was my influencer situation. What I learned about Gerald while we were on holidays is he's either really laid back or he's scared of me. And I don't know which one. And maybe it's like a healthy fear that makes him laid back. I'm not sure. So the second last day, we found this lunch place. And it's the grill with all the cheeseburgers and hot dogs, whatever. We were super jacked about it all day. We're like, oh yeah, we're going to go back. We're going to get burgers, you know, excited because that's all we had to talk about and live for that day. And lunchtime comes and I'm like, okay, sweet. So I wanted to get a reaction. So we're getting all our stuff on, ready to go. I said, okay, so should we hit the buffet? And he's like, oh, sure. Yeah. Is that what you want to do? I'm like, what? Like, don't you want to go to the grill? He's like, no, if you want to go to the buffet, that's fine. I'm like, what? Fight with me. Argue. What's wrong with you? And ever since then, I've kind of been like slightly testing, like here and there. And I've been noticing he just lets me do whatever I want. And it's like, he's just like, yeah, that's okay. Sure. I could tell him that I'm joining the Olympic running team. He'd be like, sweet, let's do it. The only thing probably that wouldn't work is if I told him we were like going on a double date with a new couple, because that is not his favorite. That is like the least favorite thing of his whole life. So yeah, he wouldn't be laid back about that, I don't think. Anyway, that's all I have with that. Is my husband scared of me or is he just laid back? I don't know, but it's going to be an experiment that we are going to continue to work with. So anyway, moving on to the topic of the week. It was a tough week. Coming back from a week of holidays, being in the sun every day, vitamin D or whatever vitamin that is, K, D, craft dinner, I don't know. C is for health. That is oranges and stuff. So it's got to be vitamin D for daylight. I don't know. I think there's a withdrawal thing. If any of you out there, not my target demographic, but if anyone by chance is listening and you're a scientist, I would like a study to be done, or I could Google it, on the correlation between a lot of sunlight and then going to like none and withdrawal. And if that is like brings your depression or seasonal depression into an even worse toilet spin or not in a scientific term. So if we could get a study on that, that would be great. If not, I'm just going to go with it and say there was, because my mental health was in the toilet this week. Luckily, I had therapy this week. And so I didn't want to go. There was a lot of stuff that I had to work through and that I am trying to continue to work through. We're working on my people pleasing. We're working on some friendship stuff. We're working. And we're working so hard that my therapist warned me that she has a price increase coming in August. So I think it's safe to say she's going to be making some extra money in August, because I don't think we're going to be fixed by then. So we're in February, but everyone needs a goal. So I dreaded going. I dreaded it. I took the long way. I parked in front of the building that I go to, and I sat in the car for 5 minutes and contemplated sending the e-transfer and secretly just hoped that she would send me a receipt and I could just write it off without actually going. I don't know why. I asked her about it once I got inside to see if that's something that we can do. And she said it's unethical. So I don't think that would happen. So you got to go, guys. And I'm glad I went in. I am. But it's hard to get through that door. And I'm going to tell you, just because I got in the door and sat down, I didn't magically want to be there. It took a bit to get going. And I found myself looking at the clock at 2 specific times, thinking we kind of would get through something and I'd make a note in my phone about, what I'm going to work on. And then it's oh, it's 9:30. We still have 15 minutes. We got to talk about another issue. And it's which one? It's hard some days. And I think it's the most hard when you're in the middle of the trickiness and you're just not ready to face it yet. We came to some pretty cool revelations. I don't know if that's a word. I don't know. Little notes. And I thought I was going to share that with you, if that's cool. If not, turn me off. That's fine. So we're working on trying to get to the root of my people pleasing. And what we have figured out, and it makes complete sense to me, is in my past, I've been in relationships with really polarizing people that like to play the devil's advocate, people that don't mind ruffling feathers, that like to kind of just be the jerk and they don't treat people nice. And it doesn't matter to them if people think they're rude or that they mock people and hurt their feelings. Those have been key people in my life in my past. What I did at the time, or what I guess became my habit or coping mechanism or way of dealing with that and making sure that we were keeping the friend group safe, or not safe, but healthy, is that I would overcompensate. And I'd make up for that. So it was my job to make people comfortable and to kind of ease the tension after there would be a comment made, or ease the tension after someone was treated horribly, or ease the tension after a waitress was talked to wrong, or make sure if they're rude to the server or whatever, then I would be overly friendly or overly tip or overly, something just to overdo the chaos that had just happened from the other people. I'd never looked at it that way before. And part of it is, that's my job right now too, is making sure people are comfortable. They're in a really stressful situation. They're purchasing a house or they're making a huge financial decision in their life, and they need to be comfortable. They can't be in a pressure cooker situation where it's do this right now, sign right here. That's not my jam. And so I think there are times and places to make sure that people are comfortable. And it's just realizing maybe that I don't need to overcompensate for someone else's weaknesses sometimes. So something that my therapist said that was really cool, actually, I wrote it down in my phone as a reminder. she said, take up your space in the world. She said that it sounds like I shrink myself and who I am for others to bring others out and make others feel comfortable and others feel better. And I shrink who I am. And she just really challenged me to think about taking up my space in the world. And I am allowed to be here too. And I'm allowed to have an opinion. And I'm allowed to share that opinion with other people. And so what? If they don't agree, that's okay. I don't agree with everyone either, but I'm allowed to take up that space too. So that's what I've been working on. Another thing I've been thinking a little bit about is that kind of relates to that is our awards came out at work early February. I think we were on holidays then. And I won some awards this year, which was really cool. I get embarrassed and it's like lame to talk about, but at the same time, the job that I'm in is super competitive and you kind of have to promote yourself because it is so competitive. You have to have a little bit of that ego and sell yourself and, I'm so great and, I don't know. It's something I struggle with, and yet at the same time, I need to promote myself probably more than I do, and in a more aggressive way. It's just not the way that I am because I'm not taking up space in my world. I did a post, and it just said like, explained what the awards are because Gerald and I always make fun because everyone posts their awards this time of year. And it's like I got the diamond, unicorn rainbow trophy and who knows what that means. I don't know what that means. So I like spelled it out. It's like, hey, I got number 2 in Manitoba out of Century 21 Canada, which I find hilarious because my kids, I love that my dad will just always be number 1 in their hearts because they're like, oh, Papa got number 1 then. And it's like, yes, Papa got number 1. Yeah, I will never be Papa. Thank you very much. And then Gerald will always be like but number 2 is amazing. And it's like, it's fine. I am okay with where I'm at and I'm okay with what my kids think of me, but it's just funny. And so I'll always have that little humility, humble thing in my life, and I'm glad that I have it. But and then I said like number 15 in Canada out of over 10,000 Century 21 agents, and like things just for perspective, and so people know, yeah, I work my friggin' butt off. I did a thing, and it was more of like a thank you to all my clients and people that believe in me and stuff. And there's always a silence that comes with some of that stuff. And there's so many people in my life that cheer for me and cheer for my wins. And I'm really, really thankful for them. But a quote came to mind. I looked up who this quote is by Leonardo freaking DiCaprio. And it's like, Leo, the love of my life from junior high, you're coming out at my good old age of 42, which is like 12 years older than the oldest girlfriend he's ever had, but whatever. And his quote is, pay close attention to the people who don't clap when you win. And I've been thinking about that a lot this week, and I don't like it to be negative like that. So I've kind of turned it around and just said like, pay close attention to the people who are clapping when you win. And those are the people that I want in my life. Those are the people that I want to have around in my life. And there were some pretty significant silences from some people in my life this year. And I was getting bitter about it. And I was thinking more and more about it. And I thought of something that I spoke to some high school kids about this fall. I talked to them a little bit about love your neighbor as yourself. And the whole key on love your neighbor as yourself that I find incredibly interesting is you're supposed to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And that means you have to freaking love yourself first. And the way that you love your neighbor, I'm good at loving my freaking neighbor on a good day. I hate myself most days. I need to love myself first so that I can properly love my neighbor. But in this case, pay close attention to the people who are clapping when you win. The people who aren't clapping when I win, that's not a me problem. That's not my problem. And maybe it has nothing to do with me. Maybe they're not clapping because they don't love themselves enough to be able to cheer for other people. They're too busy seeing their flaws and giving themselves a hard time. And I think about how I feel sometimes when I see someone winning online. I mean, social media is such a hook for that, right? Like, it's just a time suck and you feel like a piece of crap. When I see them winning online, and sometimes I feel less than, or I feel cynical, and it's like, well, they're going on this trip again, and where are they getting that money? I'm working my butt off and I can't afford to do, all this stuff. That's a me problem. I'm the one that's feeling less than. I'm the one that's feeling like I'm not good enough. That's not their problem. Why should I be hating on them for taking up their space in the world? And why can't I just love them for doing their thing? For a while, I was extra cynical and I'd see this stuff and I'd be like, oh no, but you don't know. You never know what their debt load is or what their, I don't want to be in that kind of debt if I'm going to live that way. And you know what? That's when I have to say, shut the front door, Abby. None of your freaking business. And you don't even need to think about that because it's none of your business. We're going to take up our own space in our own world. We're going to love ourselves enough that we can love our neighbors and cheer for them because that's what we would want people to do for us. We're going to stop shrinking who we are for others, and we're going to take up our space in the world because the world needs all of us. I feel like when we're genuine and we can be ourselves and take up our own genuine space, that's when we're able to actually truly love people the right way and the way that we're meant to. I don't know. So that's just my thoughts on that today. On to our random questions. Ask Abby. I got this question from my friend Nat, actually. She submitted this one. How do you separate work life and family life with your dad and brother as bosses? Yes. So my dad is the owner at Century 21. My brother is my boss. He's the broker. So what the broker does is he is literally in charge and legally liable for all of us agents. We all work under his broker's license. So he is my boss too. I'm responsible and I answer to him because we're working with contracts and clients and all that kind of stuff. If I have any questions or if anything goes down that isn't right or that I have questions about, he is who I need to go to and talk to because he's the one that is essentially in charge and I'm working on behalf of his broker's license. My dad is just my boss because he is my boss. So there's that. How do we separate that? Well, let me tell you a story. Before I was a realtor, this is coming up in another episode, how I became a realtor and that whole journey. But for now, I will just say I had a salon with my sister, my dad, my sister, all owned a salon. It was horrible. It almost wrecked our whole family. When that crashed and burned, it sucked. Totally good now, but it was really hard on our family. And so we said never again. And then I wanted to become a realtor and I had to beg. And that is where we're at now. I think a part of it is just compartmentalizing. When I'm at work, Waldo is Waldo. When I'm at home, dad is dad. We talk about work because it's our lives, right? So we will talk about work and we'll, talk about odds and ends. But if we have a really big disagreement, I mean, we're going to have very different opinions. And that's what I love about working with him is so much experience. And we're two very different demographics. And we have different clienteles. We see different things in the day. So we can bounce ideas off of each other, which I really love. We can have a disagreement about work stuff at work and I can still go out for dinner with them the next evening or drop my kids off or have them, go over there and the kids play ping pong and we hang out upstairs. It's just a separate thing. It's not a personal thing. And so with my dad and I, that's been able to be a really life-saving, relationship-saving thing. It took my dad a while, I think, when I started working with him to realize that I just cry when I'm angry and frustrated. I cry. That is just how I do things. I think in the beginning I was going through a divorce. So I was like overlapping personal and family and stuff. Like it was all an overlap in the beginning. And he would sit there in his office and I'd be crying. He's like, we're not crying now. And it's finally, I was like, yes, we are. And I think now he just realizes he can't stop it. And I think also we both just realized when I'm angry and frustrated, like I just can't help it. I just cry. And I will get my words out and be logical about it, but at the same time when I'm just mad, I just cry. I can't help it. Pretty good at keeping that separate. In relation to me and my brother, I mean, my main thing that I have to do is to stay in my own lane. That is just something that I really have to work at, and that I really have to try hard to do. Whenever we've had a clash, it's because I'm not minding my own business and I am not staying in my own lane. And so I am a realtor and I work in my cubicle and I sell houses, and that is all I do. And so I think the goal for me is just to stay in my lane and to do my best at doing that. And am I successful in that all the time? No. But do I love seeing my family every day? Yeah. And I mean, another thing too that helps, like, we're both in completely different stages of our lives, right? Like, I have my kids, two of my kids are turning 16 next weekend. He has his daughter is 1.5, such a busy, fun age. And so we're both at totally different stages. Like, they're busy with their stuff and we're busy carpooling everyone and, all that kind of stuff. And we're at games and they're, at their play dates and doing their stuff. And so we're always lucky when we can be together in the same room at family stuff. And he takes the time to see my kids. And, when they come into the office, they're so excited when he's there. And when I get to see his daughter, it's just, I think it's important to keep those things as the important thing. But yeah, I hope that's answered as much as I can. But yeah, I think compartmentalizing and just staying in our own lane. That's that. What else? Current obsession right now. I am watching the show Younger. It is my second time through. I love it. Hilary Duff is so cute. Also, like, I guess she's doing a comeback tour, but like all the videos I've seen, like, it's good, but she's doing all her songs from, like, she was Lizzie McGuire. Is she doing new stuff too? Or is this just like a retro, let's try and be, I don't know. I can't figure it out. It's great. Go for it. I love some Hilary Duff, but I don't know. Also, it's got to be hard as a pop star to like go on tour. And now Taylor Swift has set this whole wild, no one's ever going to top the Eras tour. So either way, you're going to be the poor man's Eras tour. And it's like, I'm the type where if I'm going to do something, I want to be the best. And it's like, I don't know. The competitive side of me is just like, I don't think I would ever go. So I'm proud of her for doing it. Does she need the money? Why is she doing it? Does she just love it? Does she want to be relevant? I don't know. Can someone help me with this? Also, Younger, because Younger is my treadmill show. I watch it on the treadmill. I also just got a pedal resistance band thing. So I'm going to allow myself to watch it too when I do that. Instagram ads, right? Anyway, I have just discovered that most people do an incline on their treadmill. And I was feeling proud of myself because I've been doing really good on the treadmill. But then I heard that my people that I talk to, they're doing an incline. So I've been doing like a 3 and I've been going to bed with leg aches. My people are on like a 5.5 or a 6 incline. Are you freaking kidding me? What are we doing here, guys? One day. Currently reading. I am currently reading. I've had so many duds in the past, although I read my new favorite book of all time called Theo of Golden by Alan Levi. I read it on my Kindle on holidays. It's a 5-star book, maybe 10 stars out of 5. It was that good. I ordered 2 copies of it because I need physical copies on my bookshelf. I ordered 1, gave it to my dad. I ordered a second one to borrow out. I've already borrowed it out to someone. I might have to order a third. Buy some stocks in that book. Do it. It's very good. And I read a bunch of duds. Now I am reading Finding Flora. It is good. It's one of our book club books, and it's about this woman in like early 1900s is she marries a guy for money. They go across on a ship from Ireland to Canada, and turns out he's abusive. So she jumps off the train somewhere in Alberta and somehow buys like homestead land and starts farming it. And it talks about just like the women around. It's fiction, but it's so, so good. The relationships are great. Storyline's good. Writing is very good. I would recommend it. My next book club book is from my other book club is Project Hail Mary. I'm excited for that one because apparently there's a movie coming out with Ryan Gosling in it. And I love Ryan Gosling. He's petite. I would crush him if we were actually together in real life. So I'm sorry it won't happen. But remember him from Breaker High? Oh, the episode where him and his crush finally kiss is like magic. I still get the shivers thinking about it. Anyway, that's my current reading. Next episode, we have Ro, my friend Ro, coming from Castle Mortgage. We're going to talk a little bit of mortgage, not really, how we became friends. She's in therapy too. So we have a few things to talk about and compare notes on. She has a party coming up that is super, super cool idea that I want to share with you guys. And a lot of other odds and ends. So stick around for that. That's coming up soon. I got to figure out how to record 2 people, but we'll be there. Other than that, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day. And you've been listening to Abby's Open House, Kids Keys, Caffeinated Combos. Have a great day and feel free to give me a follow on Abby's Open House podcast on Instagram or tell your friends about it and have them give it a listen.